All right, welcome to the first episode of Smells Like Machine Spirit Titan Talk. We are here with your hosts. My name is Greg. I'm here with Tim and John. Say hello, fellas.
How's it going?
Hey,
Hello,
Jim.
fellas.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for joining. And we're just here, a couple of middle-aged nerds talking about some of our favorite Stompy Robot Death Machine games. And we thought we'd kind of maybe do this on a semi-regular basis, see if this is fun and see if you guys enjoy it. But we're just gonna, have a little semi formal agenda, but nothing too heavy, and just kind of talk about the hobby that we love. And so maybe let's just kind of first off, let's go around the room a little bit and talk about who we are and what kind of got us into the game, and tell us a little bit about the Legios that you collect and what are you working on now. And this is going to be primarily focused on Adeptus Titanicus, obviously the 6mm, 8mm legendary stompy robot game from Games Workshop, but we might delve into other heresy topics as time and interest allows. But let's maybe kind of go around the room. John, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, what got you into the hobby, and what are you collecting and building and working on right now?
Sure. So I am currently working on Mordaxus. At this point, I just got a single Warlord Titan for them, but primarily I collect Legio Vulturum. And I've been in the hobby now for the Games Workshop hobby, that is, for about 20 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I think I got into it when I was a kid, when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And for Adeptus Titanicus in particular, I love how crunchy the game is. It really brings back some of the feeling of the old rules that I really liked. Armor facings, movement being particularly important.
Mm-hmm. Moves mattered, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So Mordaxus, Ataris, and been in the hobby for a little while. Cool. Tim, how about you?
Yeah. So right now I'm working on Legio Tempestus. I've got I'm waiting on stencils to come in from the UK. Right now they're all kind of prepped and sitting around waiting to go. There's 4 Warhounds, a Reaver, a Warbringer, and a Warlord just kind of sitting in the wings waiting.
Nice.
And then I also have Legio Metallica, which will probably end up being the larger of the Legios that I end up collecting. And then once I have time, I'll also be working on Legio Tritonus.
Oh, nice. Nice. Okay, cool. And how long have you, I think, well, at least for me, I think you might have been one of the guys that got me into Titanicus, but you've been doing Titanicus for a little while now, right? Since it came out?
Yeah, my friend and I, we started, basically we got a set of the rules and we got a couple of the Warlord sized bases. And just kind of ran some practice scenarios.
No Titans on the bases, just the base.
No. Yeah, just the base, because we really wanted to see if it was a game. If it was something that we wanted to do.
Right. That's smart.
And when we, after we did that, we realized, yeah, okay, this is fun, and we got a box set, split it, and yeah, cool. So we pretty much started the beginning of the new release of Titanicus.
Nice. Anyway. That's cool. That's the way to do it. And it's funny because for me, I've been in the miniature painting gaming hobby for a very long time. I took a hiatus for about 10, 15 years there. Then about, 10 years ago, I came back with a vengeance. And I resisted Titanicus for the longest time. I'm into a bunch of different games, and that's kind of partly my own problem. But I resisted Titanicus for the longest time. I played Horus Heresy, the 28mm, Age of Darkness, a Horus Heresy game. Played that for a long time. And I avoided Titanicus for a long time, which is weird because when I first got into the hobby way back in the 90s, one game that I bought into hook, line, and sinker, I got into really deeply was Epic 40K. And my problem was that nobody around me ever wanted to play it. So I collected all this stuff and I painted all this stuff, but I always wanted to play that game, but I could never find an opponent. And so then, years and time go by, and kind of fell out of the hobby, came back, got into, 40K again, then got into 30K. And then again, resisted Titanicus for inexplicable reasons other than I just had too many different games. And then I don't remember what it was, but it just clicked for me. I was like, okay, I'm in, right? I absolutely want to play this game. Got into it. Started with Legio Vulturum, probably because I have a massive affinity to House Malanax for a Night House. I have a House Malanax in my 30K forces as part of my Dark Mechanicum army. And I like that paint scheme so much, and I kind of slightly corrupted them and got them put together and corrupted them and painted them up and kind of made them all gross and, horns poking out and, open wounds and whatnot. And so I had lots of fun with that. Played a few games with that. And so I've got quite a bit. I probably got about 4,000 to 5,000 points worth of Vulturum at this point. And I've started on my Legio Presagius, which I feel like, I've got a traitor. I probably need a loyalist to kind of mix things up. And then after this, I don't know. I'm already thinking third Legio. I'm not really sure where I'm going to go with that. But man, painting all that trim on my Presagius is kind of killing me. So like, I can't really.
Oh, yours is gold too, isn't it?
I know, it really is. And it's brutal. It's like, I don't know what it was with the Vulturum, but I kind of sprayed, I airbrushed the entire thing silver or lead belcher, washed it twice with Nuln Oil, and then I paint the inside of the armor plates that kind of creamy white. And then I never had to paint the trim, right? And so I was kind of blessed, or what's the word I'm looking for? Spoiled, right? And so like now I'm doing the Presagius, like, oh my god, this is a grind.
No, I feel the same way when I about my Ataris, because they've got the silver trim too.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot easier to paint silver trim than it is to paint gold trim.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I decided that I was going to paint all the trim brown because gold really stands out when you paint it brown, like you do a brown base coat or a pink base coat. I was like, oh my god, it's like not only do I have to paint the trim once, I have to paint the trim twice. So, but it's turning out. It feels like it's turning out pretty good. So I can't be sad about that. So working on Legio Presagius. Once that's done, I'm starting to lean toward Legio Vulpa because I want to do a Banelord at some point because Vulpa's kind of like Cord. And Mordaxus, that's the Nurgle. You're going Nurgle there, right?
Yeah, kind of the like heavily corrupted, almost the zombie titans. They leak like a necrotoxin out of their legs and out of seeping wounds.
Love it. Perfect. Oh, that's so gross. I love Nurgle. So good stuff. All right. Well, and one fellow that we weren't able to have us join, we'll pour one out for our friend Troy. He could not make it tonight, but maybe if we have future episodes, maybe he'll be able to join us in a future episode. But maybe we'll let him do his own introduction. But I think in terms of Legios, he does. I want to say he does Audax and Furians. Is that right?
Yeah, Audax, Furians, and now Krytos.
Oh, that's right. And his Furians are gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
No, they're absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. He's also got, I think, a small knight household, too.
Oh, does he? Well, he actually has some like 40K scale, or 28 millimeter scale Titans, like more than a couple. I don't want to spoil the surprise. Maybe Troy could tell us what he gets when we do that. Like, but he sends us pictures of his gorgeously painted Titans. I'm like, you suck.
I'm jealous.
Yeah,
very jealous.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, hey, fellas, it's great to kind of get an intro for you. And I think today's episode we're gonna keep it kind of focused on current events or semi-current events. So I'm thinking, let's talk a little bit about latest release for Titanicus, that being the Direwolf. And recently they released a narrative scenario, and they released an update to the FAQ for Titanicus. So maybe let's kind of jump in and let's start talking about that Direwolf. What do you guys, Tim? When you saw the Direwolf, what do you think? What was your original thoughts? And it's okay to speak your mind. What was your original thoughts when you saw the Direwolf?
It was so derpy and just so dumb looking.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of loved it because it was so just like darky.
Yep.
And now that we've actually seen it, and I've seen some people painting it up, and it looks like the kit is actually far more posable than
Right.
people kind of, or the Forge World really made it out to be,
Right.
in their picture. So that's great. Like
Yep.
it, I think it's a lot better looking when you see some other people that have painted them up.
I agree. And I think for a while there we were just so hungry for a new release. I got all excited when I saw that the picture of a Titan, a brand new Titan. It was like, oh my God, yes! And then I look at it, I was like,
Crippled chicken, too fat.
yeah, it was weird, but it's really, I got to admit, it's grown on me. It's really grown on me. John, initial reactions to the direwolf?
Initial reactions, it was hideous.
Yeah,
It was hideous.
fair.
But it's definitely grown on me as time has gone on.
Yeah.
And I love the rules for it.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the rules here in a minute. But I have to admit, like when I first saw it, it looked really derpy. It looked really static, and I think this is a pretty common reaction. I mean, I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before, but when I started seeing, the people were getting their, sneak peeks or whatever they call that when you're on the radar of GW and they send you early stuff so that you can kind of show it off early, and people were kind of reposting the legs. I'm like, okay, this is not right. It's not bad.
Actually, do you know what it kind of reminds me of?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the Warburger. I wasn't a big fan when they released the Warburger kit because it was very static, the box art was.
Yeah.
But the more that I've seen people kind of mess around with it, tinker with it, reposition the legs,
Yep.
the more I kind of warm up to it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I totally get what you're saying there. Tim, sorry, I think I cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm still not 100% sold on the Warbringer.
Me neither.
Posing and model wise, I think it's fine. Rules wise, I think it has a very strange place.
Warbringer or the Direwolf?
The Warbringer.
Yeah, agreed. I haven't played one myself yet. I just finished painting my Vulturum one. I've never put it on the table. In fact, I've only played against one. That was the first game that I played against you, Tim. And it didn't. I mean, one game you really shouldn't make a impression off of that, but it didn't blow me away, pun intended.
It was also the first time I had ever brought Warhounds too.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about. So we've talked a little bit about your initial reaction to it now, and your feelings, and my feelings too, have sort of evolved on that. Are y'all getting one? I ordered two. I ordered one with the Neutron laser and one with the Volcano cannon, and it still hasn't shipped from Forge World, and I don't know why. But
I think a lot of people were experiencing that problem.
Yeah, I think particularly in the U.S. That's kind of what I heard. Anyways, but I keep seeing on my Instagram feed, and I'm like, why do I not have mine? I don't know. Has anyone else ordered one, or is it just me?
I haven't. Mostly because
you're still on the fence.
It's more, I think the Legio that I want to put it in. I want to put it into my Tempestus, but they're kind of in the beginning stages of Legio. Right. They're not. They're all base coded, but that's about as far as they've gotten.
Well, you want to have enough stuff to field a regular game's worth of Titans before you start expanding into support Titans, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to order one here. I haven't decided if I'm going to use it for a Taurus or more Daxus yet. It could be kind of fun to take one with the Volcano cannon and give it a necrotoxin. It'll drop the strength down to 9, but give it a nice large 5-inch blast.
Oh, brutal. Well, it's interesting. So let's talk a little bit about rules, and then maybe let's talk about our Legios, because I could see a world where you put it in the Mordaxus and you put some mutations on there to either the kind of the one that keeps you super cool, or the one that gives you minus strength to, or what's that thing that gives you stronger carapace armor?
Oh, Chitnus Carpus.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. It's like that could make it pretty nasty. But let's take a look at the dire wolf rules. So everybody, hopefully everyone's got a chance to take a look at those rules. But let's take a look at this real quick. So it is a command of 4+, ballistic skill of 3+. It's got a speed of 7 inches and 11 inches, a weapon skill of 4+. Maneuver is 2/4 and 3 servitor clades. So I don't have the rules of a regular warhound in front of me, but does anybody? I know that it's slower than a regular warhound by an inch. I don't know. Does anyone have a regular warhound card in front of them? Maybe we could pull that up. I think the command on a regular warhound is that a 5?
Command on a regular warhound is 5 up. I just pulled it up right here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I swear the command was 5 up. And ballistic skill is 3, and weapon skill is 4. Is that the same as a regular warhound?
Weapon skill 4, yes.
Yeah.
But the servitor clade, it has more servitor clades.
Yep, it should have what the regular warhound has 2, right?
Yeah, and it has 3.
And then the plasma reactor has 2 green pips, 1 yellow pip, 2 orange pips, and 1 red pip. And 3 void shields, I should say, because the last one's an X means it's out. So it's beefier than a regular warhound, right? And then you're able to put a carapace weapon on there and a torso weapon. But the special rules on this guy are particularly interesting to me. So it says Heavy Scout Titan. Each maniple in a battle group may replace a single optional Warhound Titan with a Direwolf Titan. Legio Audax, Troy. Maniples may replace a single mandatory Reaver or a single optional Warhound Titan with a Direwolf instead. This allows fielding of Legio Audax maniples that were previously inaccessible to the Legio, such as Ferox or Venator maniples, so long as the maniple includes a Titan of scale 7 or more when assembled. Direwolf Titans count as the Warhound or Reaver. Direwolf Titans count as the Warhound or Reaver they replace for the purposes of maniple rules. Got it. Auxiliary Titan. We already know that one. This Titan is Auxiliary Titan. Battle group can include a maximum of 1 Auxiliary Titan as reinforcements of Maniple Night Lance in the battle group. Okay, then I think isn't there, I thought there was another rule.
Yes, it's going to be just underneath the name at the top of it.
Yes.
The Stalker rule.
Why don't you want to read that off for us?
Oh, sure. It says, this Titan is deployed after all other units. Players take it in turns, starting with the player who has control of the battlefield. To deploy 1 Titan with a Stalker rule anywhere on the battlefield. The Titan must be at least 8 inches and at least 50% obscured from enemy units. These conditions do not apply if it is deployed in the controlling player's deployment zone. This Titan counts as deployed for the purpose of determining which player finished deploying first.
That feels pretty cool to me. I mean, it's kind of awkward thinking of a 30-foot tall war machine being sneaky. But this guy, you can kind of see it maybe from a fluff perspective, like he's crouching down, maybe he's hull down, hiding behind a hill or something. And then, some other warhound runs around and surprise and blasts him, right?
I'm kind of reminded, I don't know if either of you have ever seen Gundam 8th MS Team.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Zaku's, or even the Gundams in that particular series, where they would like put camo netting on them, and enemy units would essentially walk by them, and then they'd pull the camo netting off and attack from behind.
Yeah. Do you think this would ask you guys, do you think this Stalker rule is pretty useful? Is it more interesting? Is it good or is it cute? Let's ask that question.
I think it's good.
I'm kind of with you. Tell me, why do you think it's good? Tell me more about that.
So and I haven't seen, I don't know, have you seen rules for the torso weapons that it can take? I've only seen the Mega Bolters. Is that all it can take?
I think that's what do they call that? They call that the Ardex Defensor Mega Bolter.
Yeah.
That's the only gun I think it can, or the only arm weapons, quote unquote, it can take. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
I think the ability for it to be 8 inches away, or the 8 inches away and 50% obscured, is a little the way that the Titan is built.
Right.
You're not going to be 8 inches away. I mean, you're going to want to be probably 20 or more inches away.
Right.
But the ability to just completely mess up somebody's plans by playing something out of turn order is always good. And you can arrange it so that it really has the advantages it needs. And I mean, 50% obscured is nice, but you can go for 100%
right
behind a small building, and even in your opponent's deployment zone.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, especially with it deploying last too.
Right.
So it gets to see where all of your other opponents' units are, unless they also have a direwolf.
Right.
Before you put it down.
Yeah, this guy's basically an ambush predator, right? He's waiting there, waiting. I mean, it's not like your opponent's not going to see where you place it, so it's not like you're going to kind of walk around the hill, doop, 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 and then blam. But it's going to change your opponent's behavior, right? Now, let's talk about the weapons on this thing. So the first option is a volcano cannon, the volcano cannon that we know and love, right? And is that, I just want to make sure that I'm on the right page. The volcano cannon, is that the same basically volcano cannon that's like on a Reaver arm volcano cannon, same stats, right?
It has a better short range accuracy. It gets a +1.
Oh, does it? Well, there you go. So, okay, cool. Then the other option, at least so far, is the neutron laser. So, John, tell us a little bit about that neutron laser.
So the neutron laser, that's going to be a fun one.
Mm.
So you're looking at 1 dice, strength 7, +1 at 30 inches, just like the volcano cannon is going to be, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But with bypass, carpus, draining, and shock.
That's crazy.
So it gives you the ability to shut down an enemy Titan if you're lucky.
Yep.
But it's also at the cost of it only being a single dice. There's a lot of points of failure on a single dice.
Yeah, and so like with a ballistic skill of, I want to say 3. Yep, I remembered correctly. With a ballistic skill of 3, but an accuracy at short range of +1. So you're hitting with no other modifiers. You're hitting on a 2 at 30 inches, which, let's face it, if you deployed this thing, quote unquote, correctly, you're going to be pretty close to somebody, right? So you're hitting on 2s. You're forcing, or you're causing a shutdown check on a 4, I want to say. Is that right? On a shock?
It depends on the hit that you get. So if you don't do any damage at all, you just get a hit.
Yep.
On a 6-up, you can use a shock rule to shut an enemy Titan down.
Got it. Right. Okay.
If you get a direct hit or better, it becomes a 3-up.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I was gonna say, I feel like 6-up didn't sound. You're right. Yep. If you get a direct hit or better, that's kind of good, right? I mean, if you had a choice, like the way I'm thinking about this when I was reading these rules, I think I take the neutron laser, if nothing but the lulls and the fear factor. I mean, what do you guys think? Tim, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Volcano cannons are great, but everything except a warhound can have a volcano cannon, and some of them can have multiple volcano cannons of multiple different types.
Yeah.
They're strong and to be feared by certain things. I mean, knights. This would be a good knight hunter.
That's a great point. A volcano cannon direwolf is just like knight's death.
Yeah.
I will add, though, if I may.
Yeah.
That's just that one of the downsides to the neutron laser is the neutron laser is not going to do anything against knights. If you take a neutron laser and this comes up against Banner of Knights, it's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, if a knight charges this thing, it's kind of done for. Right. Or a group of knights charge a dire wolf with a neutron laser. It's gonna
Yeah,
have
it's going to have to have backup of some sort.
it's gonna have a
Yeah.
bad day. So actually, that's interesting that you bring that up, John. Let's talk about like how would you like. Okay, so you're taking a dire wolf. You probably want to deploy it forward. You're probably going to get it under cover. Let's say you take the neutron laser or the volcano cannon. Sounds like it's a pretty decent choice, but you're taking. Let's pretend you're taking the neutron laser. Um, so you're going to wait for somebody. You're going to force somebody's movement around terrain, or you're going to pop out and zap somebody. Let's say you're on the other side. You're looking at a dire wolf. What do you do against that direwolf? Do you just send in the chain fist reaver? Do you send in the knights? Like what's good anti direwolf tech?
I would probably, if I'm looking at the neutron laser, because I usually take a banner or two of knights,
Mm-hmm.
send the knights after it, and honestly, just try and put as much pressure on it as early as possible.
Yeah, the shutdown terrifies me. I don't know.
When it goes off, it is nasty.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it probably terrifies me more than it actually is impactful. But I think that's the point, right? Is that it's going to make your opponent think very hard about leaving that neutron laser unopposed.
Now, the strength 7 is not very high.
Agreed.
So against Reavers and Warlords, it's going to have some trouble. But strength 7 is enough to terrorize other Warhounds.
Yeah. So this could really put a damper on Audax or Furian's day, or just anybody else taking a Warhound. Let's talk a little bit about the Ardex. So we talked a lot about the positioning of the thing. We talked a little bit about the main guns. Let's talk a little bit about the Ardex Defensor Mega Bolter. This one's a little weird to me. It's like I guess on some level I don't understand it. It was odd to me that like why don't you just give it Mega Bolters? But the Ardex Defensor Mega Bolter is kind of like it counts as one gun. Do I have that right? It's called paired, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot like a regular Mega Bolter, but it counts only as one gun. It's still rapid fire, so you get additional hits on sixes. No accuracy bonus on either short or long. So it's meh.
It's a lot like the Warlord shoulder weapons, it being paired, that is.
Yeah, I guess
So
that's a good point.
if one of the weapons can't see, then you have the shots.
Right.
So it's basically a Mega Bolter with half shots.
Right. So if you could, let's say you could only get your right Mega Bolter on it, you're only rolling 3 dice.
Right.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, to me though, is like it's a Warhound. Like that scenario is really unlikely.
Yeah, that's true.
It's got the front arc of, and you know, so it's. I don't think the paired rule is going to come up all that much. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. But
yeah, that's probably fair.
I do think it might, and I just say that because I could really see people trying to hug cover with this, especially towards the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're worried about it getting hit by like a Warlord or something like that, and you're trying to hit things on the flank, it's entirely possible you could easily run into a situation where the building that you're hugging, you just don't have the movement to clear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
That's a great point. And the other thing, it's funny you just said that, John, because I could see another use for the dire wolf is like you deploy it really forward on a flank, and you don't even try to engage early. You just wait for the other Titans to move up, and then this thing's still. I mean, it's not as maneuverable with both speed and turns, right, as a regular Warhound, but it's still pretty zippy. I mean, you could get right up underneath someone's shields pretty quickly in the rear, where you're adding bonuses to your strength on the hits, where, that Mega Bolter could do some serious damage under the shields potentially. And then the other thing I think about as a Vulturum player, I get the Stormfrag shells on my Mega Bolters, which gives me a +2 on the strength of those things. So that makes it even a little bit more interesting.
Oh, that would be really nice.
Right? So I was like, ooh. It's so funny. It's like, I don't, people I was reading Goonhammer about Vulturum, not to make this about Vulturum or my favorite Legio, but they're saying, the Stormfrag shells, they're expensive. It's 25 points per megabolter. And that adds up really fast. But I tell you what, you get a Vulturum megabolter up in somebody's grill under their shields, rolling strength 6 or on a flank strength 7 and rapid, you're doing some hurt. So that's got, I feel like that's got some game. It's nothing to sneeze at. So I don't know. It seems interesting. I would like we talked about earlier. When I first saw this, I was like, I don't know. But it's grown on me, and now actually the rules are kind of like, okay, this seems like a very control-y type of piece.
Yeah,
The Stalker rule. Oh, I'm sorry, Tim.
I was just going to say I feel like as far as the specialist titans go, this is by far the most common one you'll see because the other ones are pretty cost prohibitive.
Right. Agreed.
The War Master is, you can barely fit a maniple into a 1750 point list with the War Master.
If you can even at all. Yeah, and you've got to do the crazy big games like we did last summer, which we're going to do again here soon. Funny you say that, Tim, because I just started building my my War Master myself. I was like, oh my god, that thing's so many freaking pieces. John, you were going to say something earlier.
Oh, I was just going to say the Heavy Scout Titan rule and the Stalker rule, to me, especially for the Dire Wolf, I love that it changes the dynamic of the game a lot. It makes deployment far more interesting. And with something like the Neutron laser, there's a threat there that you don't normally face.
Yep. And I love that too. And the Heavy Scout Titan, you can replace in some maniples, you can replace a Reaver with this thing. So that gives you more. This isn't going to be as cheap as a Warhound, but it's certainly not going to be as expensive as a Reaver. That gives you a chance to put a couple hundred more points worth of stuff in your list for very little trade-off. So that seems. I'm very curious to see what kind of combos people come up with this Titan.
So there is one maniple that I think would be very amusing to try and take. It's the King and Queen maniple.
Oh, is it the Regia?
I'm not sure what it's called, but you have 2 Warlord Titans that are the King and the Queen.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 Warhounds. And they can share shields if they're, connected to each other.
With the Warlords, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So you would lose out potentially on... And I'm not 100% sure if they're allowed to share their shields or not. That's one thing I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
But it definitely sounds like it would be kind of amusing to see if you could make it work.
Yeah, I like that. It's funny because that was the last question I wanted to ask or kind of get some discussion on this particular Titan was, okay, what legios or what maniples or what forces do you think this would be particularly interesting in? John, how about you? What do you think?
Well, Legio Audax, I think, first and foremost. Yeah. This completely changes the game for that Legio.
Yeah.
Before, they only had access to 1 or 2 different maniple types, and now this just blows it wide open for them. But in particular, I'm really curious to see this, even if not in Legio Audax, used in a Venator maniple.
Yeah.
Because if you hit with a Neutron laser and shut down an enemy Titan, their shields go down, which would then trigger the Venator maniple's rules, allowing the Reaver to get a free shot.
Wow. And the Reaver, which is actually would that be the Dire Wolf or a different Reaver?
I think, isn't it only Legio Audax that can switch it for Reavers?
Let's take a look here. This allows fielding of Legio Audax maniples that were previously inaccessible to Legio, such as Ferox or Venator maniples, so long as the maniple includes a Titan of scale 7 or more when assembled. Yeah. Yep. That's crazy. I love it.
But no, even just with a standard vendor manifold, like replacing one of the Warhounds with it, just being able to shut down an enemy Titan, trigger the rule to allow the Reaver to take its free shot. That's really nice.
Yeah, I dig it. Well, it'll be interesting once we get our our dire wolves. We'll get games in eventually. If Forge World sends us our dire wolves someday, we'll get it on the table. All right. Any last thoughts on the dire wolf, or move on to the narrative scenario? We good?
I think my last thoughts on it is just that they added one, and we mentioned it before, to the plasma reactor, and for the direwolf, that's huge.
Agreed.
Yeah,
because the plasma reactor is always the Warhound's weakest point.
That's such a good point. Tim, sorry, go ahead.
Rolling that double plasma on something that is draining on a Warhound is just brutal.
Yep. And I was just recently listening to a podcast, Remembrancer's Retreat. I don't know if you fellows listened to that, but they cover Titanicus, and it was probably a while ago, but they were talking about the trader book and the different mutations you can take, and they were talking about the one that keeps you cool. I forget the name of it, but like you put that, like you get 2 extra repair dice, but they can only be used for plasma venting. Like you put
Frozen Soul.
Frozen Soul. Thank you. That's the one. Man, you put that on this thing, man, you're cold for days. You're good, right? And you can really kind of push it for the turns, or push it for the speed, and just keep shooting.
I don't know that it'll need it, honestly.
Yeah. Well, if it takes the Volcano cannon, you might, but I don't think. Well,
I think the Neutron laser is also draining.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. The Neutron laser is draining too. So yeah, you might want it. Anyways, it'd be interesting combo. Okay, well, hey, good discussion on the direwolf. You fellows want to take a quick 5-minute break, or do you want to push on?
I'm good to keep going.
Okay.
I'm good here as well.
Okay, cool. Right on. Okay, good conversation around the direwolf. Let's move on to the narrative mission that was recently published by Games Workshop for Titanicus. This is called Narrative Missions: The Siege of Kado, Kado. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Innumerable wonders have been forged in this galaxy. In our ascendance, we lay claim to them. What a quote there. So this is about the Battle of the Amethyst Plains and destroy the research facilities. So I don't know if you guys have had a chance to read through this, but it's interesting that they've been sending out a couple of new narrative missions for people to try. Has anyone had a chance to look at this? And if so, what are your thoughts?
I did.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting. So it turns out that I actually read the second mission and the third mission, and I missed the first one just because I was scrolling too far or something like that. But for one, it's cool to me just because it has Metallica in it. So
yeah.
So like the second mission is
that's your Legio,
which I think is cool. Honestly, so outside of the first mission, which I didn't really look at, I think it's pretty neat. The defenses, the loyalist defense is at a significant point disadvantage. But they get more stratagems, so that can help. But the missions are really neat. The only thing that I makes me laugh a little bit is the third mission.
Yeah.
Which is loyalists only have the Psi Titans.
Oh boy, yeah. I'd forgotten about that. I read this a while ago, but I'd forgotten about that.
It's let me take a look at it. I think it's 2,500 points No. Yeah, loyalists is 2,500 points. The traders have 3,000. So the traders are 3,000 points of only corrupted titans. But that, for a trader, a corrupted titan is just, calling it this as a corrupted titan.
You're probably going to be around the same number of machines on each side, given that, right?
No, the side titans are.
Oh, that's right. The side titan's crazy. You're right.
Pretty expensive. They're upwards of 700 points.
Yep.
But so that means that you need, minimum of, I don't know, you might only get 3. 2,500 points is 3 or 4, depending on
the loadout you take on them.
Yeah. But the weird part about that is okay, you've got 3 or 4 side titans, but who has 3 or 4 side titans? I mean, I know that I have a side titan, but I'm the only one I've met so far that has one.
Yeah, that seems very very specialized. I mean, you're gonna have if you're gonna have 3 or 4 side titans, you're either hooking up with a buddy or you've got way too many titans. Or you really got a thing for side titans. I totally agree. John, what was your takeaway on some of these missions? Anything particularly stand out to you?
I actually really like the first mission, the Battle of Amethyst Plains.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool.
In particular, the absorption crystals.
Yeah, they kind of those crystals. I could just see like this alien, Xenos world, and there's all these kind of like these psychic crystals or something. And what sounds like they collect energy and then they kind of blow up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Let's see here. So just to double check, make sure I got this right.
Yep.
Because it was a few hours ago I read this.
Or I can pull it. If you don't have it up, I can pull it up here real quick.
And I've got it right here.
Okay, cool.
Rolling an additional reactor dice and picking the least favorable result.
Mm-hmm.
I went within 6 inches of one of the crystals. In addition, whenever it's activated in movement phase on a 4-up, the Titan lowers their void shield level by 1. And then you put a marker next to the crystal.
Yep.
And then that crystal, every turn has the ability to discharge that energy at a nearby Titan, causing hits to it.
Yeah, D3 strength 10 hits, as if attacked by a shield bane weapon. That's brutal.
Especially when you want to be up close to the research facilities at the end of the game.
Because those crystals are like right next to them, right?
Yeah, they're all along the middle there.
Yeah, that's crazy. That one looked like a whole lot of fun.
I could imagine an intense firefight happening with everyone kind of staying back from the crystals and then rushing in the last second.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked that one, and I liked the Delta Breach one, Defend the Gate. That's the second one, I think. And the reason I like this one was mostly because, hey, look, I'm a sucker for Dark Mechanicum because I have a Dark Mechanicum Horus Heresy army. So the mission special rules, Dark Mechanicum infiltrators. The Delta Gate was brought down from within by a small group of Dark Mechanicum saboteurs that now lie in wait for the Loyalist counterattack. Once per round, when a Titan finishes its move within 2 inches of an intact building, the traitor player may attempt to sabotage that Titan. Roll a d6 on a 1 through 2, nothing happens. 3 to 5, Titan suffers d3 strength 6 hits to his legs, ignoring voice shields. On a 6, the Titan suffers d3 strength 6 hits to the legs, ignoring voice shields, and its plasma reactor increased by d3. So and each one of these missions kind of has something different and kind of fluffy and narrative about it. And I think I, for one, really appreciate that they come up with these asymmetrical missions. It's really cool. They probably won't necessarily get a lot of like event play, or I don't know, maybe even a whole lot of like regular games. But I love that they're doing this, and I hope they keep doing it.
Troy and I have actually tried playing, not necessarily these missions, these are new.
Yeah.
But some of the missions from the previous campaign books, and they've been a lot of fun.
Yeah, were they pretty balanced, or sometimes when they put out these missions, sometimes they're a little bit of clunkers, like they didn't really play test them, or they're like really imbalanced, or you just had the one game and it's like it didn't feel very, very good. Was your experience similar, or was it different, or how was it? I've never played one of these.
So far, our experience has been pretty positive with it.
Oh, good. Good.
I'll tell you what I like about this one, though. God Speaks. I'd like that. I'd like that little look at the possibility of an Imperator's weapon system.
Yeah. Hey,
Those 2 strength, 14 hits with the fusion trait. That's a mess to me.
do you think we'll? I'm going to sidetrack us here for a little bit, and then we'll go on to the FAQ. Do you think we're ever going to get an Imperator Titan? Tim, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't want to commit. I, honestly, I don't think so. And if we do, I kind of view it as the way I view the Emperor in the Horus Heresy, where if they do create a model for it, the rules will essentially be only for campaign play.
Yeah.
Like it won't.
Very special scenario type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't. I mean, you look at the War Master Titan. It's a 1,200 points.
Mm-hmm.
Imperator Titan would be probably what,
maybe
2,000?
double. Maybe double.
Just base. I mean, you can't really play a game around that.
Yeah. That's a lot.
I think they could include rules for it, but I imagine if they did, it would be something like 2,000 points.
Yeah.
And then, even then, it's not going to belong to any particular maniple, so you're also going to have to run a maniple alongside it.
Yep.
Which will prevent it from showing up in most tournaments.
Yeah, agreed. I'm right there with you. I sort of feel like if they do end up coming up with an Imperator Titan, it will be like special scenario type of thing where it's like, okay, it's everybody against the Imperator Titan, or the Imperator Titan with like 1 or 2 other Titans. Like it's going to be like special lists. I don't know. It's certainly not. They're not going to make maniples of it because like that's the biggest baddest there is, right? And things going to be huge because isn't it like double the height of a Warlord? I want to say, at least.
Something like that.
So I believe that Forge World actually came out and said originally, or at least the game designers said originally, that if they did release an Imperator Titan, it was going to be about the size of a Reaver in 40k.
Ooh. But Titanicus,
they were talking like it's going to be,
Titanicus scale.
Yeah, Titanicus scale would be about the size of a Reaver in 40k.
That's bonkers.
So that's like a Warlord and a half, right?
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah, that's bananas. I mean, it's like I want to see it because it's glorious, and it would be amazing. And how much like it reminds me of like the old 40k Apocalypse games where like you just bring the biggest, baddest, nastiest things, and it's more for funsies and like something different than something that would be regular if they did it at all, right?
Yeah. Personally, and not to derail us even further, but I would prefer it, and I don't think Games Workshop listens to me with what I prefer.
They don't.
That as opposed to doing that and going Imperator Titan, that would go and start taking a look at Xenos versus because I don't know how much further Titanicus can expand.
Yeah, agreed. I think if it's going to expand, if I cross my fingers, it's going to go the other way.
Yeah.
But that's just me. That's me wish listing. But yeah, wanted to get the idea of the Imperator Titan out there to see what people thought. Like everybody gangsta till the walking church makes it onto the battlefield. Okay, let's let's move on to so check out those missions. We haven't played one. Maybe we'll get to play one when we get our Summer Titanicus Day going on. But let's talk about let's move on real quickly.
Oh, Greg.
Yeah.
1 sec. I do want to, and this is going to end up sounding like a plug for Games Workshop.
No, not at all. It's all good.
So I did play the Titanicus computer game.
Oh.
I don't remember when it was released. But the final mission, and spoiler alert, I guess, if anybody actually cared about that, you do fight against an Imperator Titan,
Oh boy.
a traitor
Yeah.
Imperator Titan.
Do things go badly?
It's a lot of fun. You are outnumbered. Like you have, I don't know, 10 Titans, maybe more than that. But they have like 12, and they have an Imperator Titan. But the only objective is to kill the Imperator Titan.
See, that's exactly it, right? Like that is the mission, like the big bad. Like you might even take like 2-on-1 type of thing, but that seems like that would be a lot of fun.
It is pretty fun, though. It is very short.
Mm.
If anybody actually, ends up listening to this and thinking about it, then I would recommend getting that game, but probably waiting until it goes on sale.
Yeah, now you got me thinking about it. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Anything last words on the missions, or should we go into the FAQ and then we can wrap up? Anything else there?
No, I think I'm good to head to the FAQ.
Cool. All right. FAQ. So I've got it up in front of me. It's we're looking at the 1.4 version of the frequently asked questions. I think it's pink, maybe it's red. I don't know. They highlight the changes in red. Does everyone have a chance to look at this? Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah.
We good? Okay.
Yeah, I've got it right here. Yep.
All right, right on. So, Tim, maybe let's talk a little bit about the first one, the blast. The final sentence of the first paragraph should read, and then blah, blah, blah. Add the following paragraph to the end of the text. If a Titan targets a unit with a weapon that has both the blast 3 and 5-inch carapace trait, that unit is within a number of inches equal to the firing Titan's scale, the attack automatically misses, right? So the bigger you are, the farther away you have to be with a blast 3 or 5-inch, right? If the central hole of the blast temp number inches away from the firing unit equal to the unit's scale, draw a line from the firing weapon directly through the target unit to determine where the hole lands, then scatter the template. I don't know what this was before, but is that substantial? What's the deal there?
I think it's a small clarification,
Okay.
because I think there was some confusion, and I think there might still be a little confusion, at least with me, when it comes to carapace weapons and the exact distance you need to be. But in this case, I think the intent of this is more of if you have a blast weapon that is a carapace weapon, you can still fire it.
Yep.
You can't, you're automatically going to miss, and it's going to scatter.
Right.
But you can still fire it.
Gotcha. Like before you were maybe like, oh, you can't even fire it.
Right.
Gotcha.
I don't know of many carapace weapons that have the blast.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I think it's just the Warbringer and now the Direwolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, fellas, I was just scrolling through here. It's like, this is a massive document. We're not going to hit all of them. So maybe we could just hit the highlights. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you guys freak out or anything. But maybe let's go through this and we can kind of is there any highlights or lowlights or big changes? Maybe let's reframe this conversation. We got the errata 1.4 in front of us. What are the big things that stood out to you, or you changed? Ooh, yeah, or ooh, no.
So for me, that's definitely going to be the Volca Weapons, which are at the very end.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
That's a huge change.
Talk about it for us.
Okay, so the Warhound and Reaver Volkite Eradicators have gained the Beam 2 Draining rule, which is fantastic.
Yes.
That means that for a roll of the reactor dice, they can automatically hit their target. In this case, with the full amount of shots that they have.
Yep.
And they can also, if the enemy shields are down, because of the beam rule, the way it's worded, hit a specific location. They can target it and attack and automatically hit.
That seems good.
And I've used it, the same rule, with my Volkite Destructor on the Warlord, which already had the rule, and it is very good.
So I remember when Volkite came out, and everyone was like, eh. Does this change it from eh to or is it still kind of Is it worth taking now?
Um, I like the idea on a Warhound. I can't imagine taking two of them. I think you just end up suiciding your Warhound if you took more than one. But I think they're definitely much better than they were. I still don't love it on the Reaver, though I could see doing it on a more close combat focused Reaver.
Yeah, interesting. How about you, John? Worth taking?
I think so. At least on Reaver, certainly. I already had taken it on one of my Ataris Reavers, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. And this was before the Beam Rule. So I like the idea of being able to hit an opponent with a Melta once their shields go down, and then being able to follow up with the Volkite, assuming they're not within the Carpus range, in order to, well, scale range, I should say, in order to get that automatic targeted attack at the damaged location.
Yeah. I like it for no other reason than it mixes things up. And, I don't like taking things that are suboptimal just to call it mixed up, but like it's nice to have an option that is both at least semi-viable and different than a lot of the other, like there are a couple weapons that you don't see people ever really taking, like was it the laser blaster on a Warlord Carapace or something like that. Like I never see that. There are a few things like that, but I feel like this update has put the Volkite weapons at least into a position of contention, if not a position of, hey, it's actually good now. But I hope this makes things seen a little bit more in the future.
I do have to admit, I'm a little nervous about the Volkite on a Warhound.
Yeah.
And I just say that because anything that causes my Warhounds to have to roll reactor dice, I'm very hesitant on.
Yeah. Now, Traitor Warhounds, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the first game of Titanicus I played, I remember very clearly. I was running 2 Warhounds versus my opponent's Warlord Titan. And turn 1, rolled that double reactor dice, or rolled the double reactor, and lost shields.
Yep.
And that Warlord Titan just lit it up.
Yep, and you're basically done.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, that's rough.
I could see, because I've been known to do this. In Legio Tempestus, they can basically deep strike a Titan on turn 2. The caveat there is it scatters, but it only scatters D6. So you have to put it 3 inches away from any enemy Titan, and then it scatters D6 inches.
Yep.
So I could actually see putting a Warhound, if the opponent is kind of clumped up, with a Volkite Eradicator, double of them, and basically just purposely pushing yourself hot.
Yeah, interesting.
I've had success doing stuff like that, though admittedly Warhounds exploding usually isn't all that fantastic. It's usually a lot more interesting when a Reaver or Warlord does it. But
yep. Do you think these are good on Warlords at this point? Or is it more opportunity cost? Man, you could have that Volcano Cannon, you could have that Plasma Sun
the
Fury.
Volkite Destructor?
Yeah.
Well, I love the Volkite Destructor. I've only had an opportunity to use it a couple of times, but I think Troy would prefer I not use it.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. Oh,
especially even up close when the Warlord has so much reactor.
Yeah.
You don't even really have to think about pushing it at all.
Yeah. I have to admit my favorite Titan is a Reaver, and that's based solely on looks. And I wasn't like, I'm going to get into Titanicus. I'm not going to get into Warlords too much. I really like Reavers. And then when we started playing Tim, I was like, oh, Oh,
I love
warlords are good.
My favorite maniple is 3 Warlord.
So good, so good.
I'm kind of reminded of the progression when I started, because when I originally started, I started with Warhounds.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to love Warhounds. Like, I like how they look. I like how they
Yep.
operate.
Yep.
I like the idea behind them. And then I got a Reaver. And
Yep.
then I got 4 Reavers. And then I got a Warlord. And
Yeah.
now I've got 3 Warlords.
Yeah, they've all got their place and they've all got their purpose. And I feel like Titanicus is very well balanced. Like, okay, warhounds are very cheap comparatively, and you can have a bunch of them, but they die to a stiff breeze, or they get hot and they just kind of blow up. Then warlords, they're great and they're sturdy and they're tanky and they can really reach out and kill you. But man, they're you can only fit a couple of them in your list, and then there's not much left. So there's a pros and cons there that I'm finding I'm liking them all. Though I do tend to I don't do as many warhounds as I probably should. I kind of like the medium and the heavy stuff. So maybe that's something I just got to try a little bit more, but who knows? Sorry, go ahead.
If I can mention,
Yeah.
one thing about the Volkites that just kind of occurred to me that I could see being really useful on a Warhound is running it with a Plasma Blast Gun.
Tell me more.
So the idea being that plasma blast guns on maximal fire, you're running a lot of risk there of heating your Warhound up. But if
Yeah.
you're willing to take the risk, maximal firing it once an enemy's shields are down, causing a lot of damage to a location, and then using the beam ability to get those extra hits in.
Yeah, finish them off.
Especially being a Warhound too, you might be able to easily, with all the movement you've got, get to the target's flanks for that extra bonus damage as well.
Interesting. Yeah. And with the beam, I haven't used beams a lot. Please refresh my memory. Beam 2 means it hits and then it keeps going, but it loses
if it
dice.
destroys the Yes. Yeah. If it destroys the target, it'll go and hit another target and lose that many dice.
Yeah, but it keeps going until it runs out of dice, or it stops after a certain number of targets, doesn't it?
Yes, but it needs to kill its target to be able to keep going.
That's right. So you're highly unlikely to kill two targets in a row.
Yeah, unless you're hitting something like knights.
Yeah, or something that's really, really badly wounded. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right. Anything else in the FAQ errata that jumps out as you as interesting or something to keep your eye on?
They did change vortex missiles.
I noticed that. Let's talk about vortex missiles. The Friend Maker missile, right?
So
how did it change, Tim?
So correct me if I'm wrong, because I believe vortex missiles used to be one shot, and that was it. You got one shot. It hit something, or more than likely, in my experience, they missed.
Yep.
And you moved on with life.
Yep.
They changed them so that they had D6. They caused D6 hits when they miss or when they hit.
Yeah, they used to cause D6 hits. Now they cause D3 plus 1 strength, 10 hits. Yep, bypassing void shields. So they're less swingy and they're more consistent now. Which that feels good to me.
They've also limited how many you can take to one per maniple. How many vortex missiles?
Oh yeah, because I could definitely see somebody with. I mean, you can have 5 Reavers in a maniple if you run them a little bit slim. You have 5 vortex missiles, and when they all had D6 hits,
that could be brutal.
Everything kind of moves a little bit, and you just volley, and you just target one, kind of out of the blue Titan, and you probably delete it.
Yep, for sure. Well, sorry, go ahead.
Heaven forbid that your opponent is running something like an Exterminus maniple, back when you could take as many as you wanted.
Yeah.
Where you could take like 4 or 5 Reavers and just lay down that many templates that are constantly swirling around the slow Titans. They can't really get away.
Right, that's right. And those templates, they don't go away. They move, right? They scatter.
Yep, they stay on the field.
Yeah, they stay on the field. Now, interesting, in the trader book, going back to our mutations, I think Writhing Carapace allows you to switch out your Carapace weapon.
And I'm totally not doing that on my Reaver that I'm building right now. No.
And I believe, technically, if you start with, I forget which the most expensive one, I think it's 20 points, but it's like the Laser Blaster or something. But you could, it exchanges for an order, right? You don't take orders, but you do Writhing Carapace. You change to a Vortex Missile. You shoot your Vortex Missile. You can't have the same Carapace weapon 2 turns in a row. So turn 1, you could shoot a Carapace weapon, Vortex Missile, switch to something else. Turn 2. Turn 3, I think you can go back to a Vortex Missile and shoot that puppy again, if I'm not wrong. So traders, cheaty traders, I don't know. But you didn't hear that from me.
Well, my thought process for mine was, so I'll be running a Reaver with a Vortex Missile and Writhing Carapace. And a Vortex Missile is only 10 points, but so is a Vulcan Megabolter and Apocalypse Missile Launcher.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, equal or lesser points, I think, is the rule. So yep. You are golden there.
Yeah.
So filthy.
I don't love Vortex. And I think I really experienced them when they first came out. And consequently, they're when they first in the first edition of rules, when they were just one hit,
right?
They were just garbage,
right?
Now that is a good point. I'm mainly talking, when I talk about my Reaver here, not necessarily Vortex missiles per se, but just warp missiles in general.
Yeah,
is what I was planning on doing.
Yeah, warp missiles. Yeah, sorry, I think you're right.
Firing multiple vortexes that's not going to make me friends.
No, and actually, I don't know if listeners correct me if I'm wrong. I believe actually I might have misspoken. I think it's warp missiles for traders and vortex missiles for loyalists. I could be wrong, but I think it's really good that you can only take 1 per maniple, right? Because there's some feel bads there. And my dog is barking. Oh, Cooper.
Oh, here it is. It does say here in the FAQ that it's loyalist specific war gear, Vortex payload.
Right. Yeah. So I was wrong. You can't do that with Writhing Carapace. I think that's warp missiles only. But still, you could do that with warp missiles.
You can do that with warp missiles. That's plenty.
Yeah. It's like, no, let's just stop the war crimes right there. But I do think it's a really good idea, and I applaud the notion of only allowing 1 of these per maniple. Because it's a negative play experience. If every Reaver if you've got 5 Reavers, you're running a Corsair, you've got 5 Reavers, and you're all dropping Vortex missiles on turn 1. Really? It's like that could be maybe not quite so fun. Okay. Well,
or it could be my experience with them, and
they do nothing.
They all max scatter. And
yeah.
Nothing happens.
Well, I think part of that is it's almost orky in that you do it for the lulz, but it also could be really, really brutally powerful. All right, we are coming up into about a little over an hour here, and I think this has been a great chat, fellas. I've enjoyed this a lot. Is there anything else we want to talk about in terms of the FAQ? Anything else jumping out at you, or are we good?
Nah.
You all set?
No, I'm kind of glancing over here. We've hit all the main points, and I don't really see anything else that's necessarily jumping out at me right away.
Yeah, fair enough. There's lots of magenta text in there. Obviously people can go and take a look at that. There's some interesting stuff in there, but I think there are a couple things in there that, like we talked about, that kind of jump out at you. And
I think a lot of it too is just updating wording in specific books to match the Trader and Loyalist Legio's books that have come out.
To get it all consistent. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really good point. Well, okay. Well, hey, great chat, fellas. I've had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. I think, maybe we'll call that a wrap for episode 1 of Titan Talk for Smells Like Machine Spirit. It's going to be posted on YouTube, so I don't have it on... I'm not planning on putting this out on a podcast yet. Maybe we'll do that in the future. I'm not sure, but we'll post this up on YouTube, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Thanks everybody for listening and watching. We appreciate your time and your attention, and hopefully you enjoy the content. If you have any other topics that you would love to maybe hear us talk about, drop us a line, drop us a comment, and you'll like and subscribe and all that jazz. And let us know what you think. If there's something that you'd like to hear, let us know. And fellas, thanks again for your time, and let's do this again soon.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, fellas, take care, and thanks, listeners, and we'll see you next time.